And we begin tonight at 5 with developing news surrounding Measure 114 in Oregon. Strict new gun control laws were set to start this Thursday, but that is delayed following a state judge's ruling today. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Brittany Folgers. Now, that news came just after a federal judge appeared to hand Measure 114 supporters a victory. Mike Benner is in the newsroom tonight sorting through it all. Mike.
Hey, Brittany, it was a complicated day for sure, but the bottom line tonight, the gun control measure will not go into effect later this week as originally planned. But let me set the stage of how we got here. Late last week, the Oregon Firearms Federation, along with several Oregon sheriffs, went into federal court in hopes of getting a judge to block Measure 114. Measure 114, of course, was passed by a majority of voters just last month. The ballot measure requires background checks before the sale or transfer of a gun, bans magazines that hold more than 10 rounds, and requires permits to purchase a gun. Well, this morning, federal judge Karen Immergut ruled against the plaintiffs who argued Measure 114 violates the constitutionally protected right to bear arms. The judge says that's not the case, and the measure should go into effect Thursday. But all of that was short-lived. A few hours later, a state judge in eastern Oregon's Harney County ruled in favor of another set of plaintiffs in a separate case that also was trying to block the measure from going into effect. The judge granted a temporary restraining order against Measure 114, blocking the law until he can hear more arguments about the case. Lewis and Clark law professor Tung Yin tells us he's not surprised an eastern Oregon judge sided with gun enthusiasts.
Since state judges are elected, although they're going to be doing their best, they're necessarily going to be responsive to their constituencies to a certain extent because, you can get voted out of office. And so, one would expect that in the eastern part of the state that the judges would be naturally more receptive to gun right claims.
All right, it's worth mentioning again, because of what transpired in eastern Oregon today, Measure 114 will not take effect Thursday. The state judge's ruling takes precedence here because he was looking at the case through the lens of the Oregon Constitution that offers more protections and rights than the U.S. Constitution that was at the center of the federal case. We expect more developments next week, and we'll be sure to bring them to you. Brittany.
All right, Mike, thank you so much. Polls have now closed in the final Senate race in the 2022 midterms. Democrat incumbent Raphael Warnock is facing Republican challenger Herschel Walker in the Georgia Senate runoff. Warnock edged past Walker in last month's general election, but did not get 50% of the vote. Democrats built up an advantage in the runoff, record-breaking early vote count, but Republicans tend to vote on Election Day. Political analysts also say the fact that Democrats have already locked up Senate control could impact today's vote.
What we're hearing from some Republican voters is because control of the Senate isn't on the line, that's dampening some of that enthusiasm.
Right now, it's too early in the evening to call the race, but we'll keep you posted on the results. This has also been one of the most expensive Senate races of all time, with more than $400 million in combined campaign spending. Portland authorities say a home that has been an issue for firefighters caught fire once again overnight. It's on North Wygant Street near Greeley Avenue. Fire crews say that they're familiar with it because it's a, quote, repeated location for house fires. They say there's excessive clutter inside, which made it hard to find the source of the latest fire. They managed to put it out. Firefighters also searched the home several times but did not find anyone there. The cause of this latest fire is under investigation. Now to our homeless crisis. Oregon Department of Transportation crews are putting up more boulders along sections of I-5 to stop homeless people from camping there. They argue the camps are a safety hazard. Their best found out increased crime in downtown Portland is forcing some homeless people to move further out, sometimes ending up on the side of freeways.
The constant hum of the freeway, now the norm for Randy, who's been homeless for the past few years.
It's really loud.
He ended up along this section of 405 a few weeks ago after city crews cleared his previous camp.
We're at least trying to stay out of the way, you know what I mean?
Today, he's getting cleared again.
We woke up to rapid response coming to the tent and saying, hey, we're here to clean up all your stuff.
For years, the city and the state have been trying to move people like Randy off these busy roads.
This is really first and foremost a safety issue. It's dangerous for campers to be on the ODOT property right next to the state highways.
Don Hamilton at the Oregon Department of Transportation says the only tactic that works, dumping boulders in place of homeless camps.
It's kind of a last resort where we use these to try to make sure that the campers, the illegal campers, are not on state property.
They've been doing this for several years and are starting it back up again now that the weather is changing.
This is especially dangerous in the winter when the roads can get slick and icy and cars can go spinning off the road.
Just north of Delta Park, ODOT crews you can see here are unloading tons of boulders to try and deter homeless people from setting up camp along this section of I-5.
I think it's a little overboard, a little excessive, if you will, just to keep a little camping from happening. If they had an alternative, that would be one thing. I don't know where everybody's gonna go.
Sean lives along the freeway near Delta Park. Rapid response crews just told him he had to move.
From the city and the state's perspective, they don't want you guys camping out here because they say it's unsafe. Do you feel unsafe?
Well, I feel unsafe as to the fact that now I have no tent over my head and it's going to freeze again tonight.
No, I live up that way.
This is Tom. He's been homeless for 7 years and says it's safer living along the freeway.
Everybody's stabbing each other in the back of downtown. You know, out here I got friends.
ODOT is using hundreds of thousands of taxpayer dollars to install these boulders and keep the freeways clear, while trying to help those who are displaced along the way.
We would often offer them brochures and materials about where they can get assistance.
But for some, that's not enough.
Man, come on. Take our ass there, help us, like actually help us, that's what we need.
Blair Best, KGW News.
Oh, yeah.
This is video of crews cleaning up that landslide on Highway 30 from last week. They are making progress, but say disruptions will continue. The slide shut down a section of the highway about 20 miles east of Astoria. One lane opened over the weekend, but it'll only stay open at night. During the day, all lanes will be shut down between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. so the cleanup can continue. If you do drive there when the lane is open, ODOT says watch out for flaggers and expect delays. Neighbors in the Hayden Island area are worried about what a potential new interstate bridge could mean for their community. This comes as leaders in Oregon and Washington are looking to move forward with a replacement project. Christelle Coomway takes us to a community meeting where locals raised their concerns.
The project to replace the aging interstate bridge is now in year 3.
One of the bridges is 105 years old, the other is 64 years old.
Greg Johnson heads the Interstate Bridge Replacement Program, the bi-state committee charged with replacing an old, out-of-date I-5 bridge that's bound to collapse during a major earthquake.
Both bridges are old and are considered functionally obsolete.
It's no small project to replace a bridge that is part of a major interstate freeway connecting Oregon and Washington across the Columbia River. Last March, the Washington legislature put up $1 billion to help fund construction.
And we'll be going before the Oregon legislature in the 2023 session for a similar ask of $1 billion.
Hey, government. Take a beat, take a pause. Let's rethink this before it goes to the Oregon legislature.
Befriend is part of the Hayden Island Neighborhood Network.
We're really concerned about how it's going to impact the livability of the island, economic, access-wise, physically, our commute times.
The group held a meeting Monday night to share their thoughts on the project with others in the community.
We fear that we're going to be an island covered by the shadow of this giant bridge. And are we going to just have more tent encampments underneath?
We are trying to listen well, and we're trying to hear the community.
Johnson was also in the room discussing the matter in hopes of finding common ground.
and making sure that folks understand there is no perfect solution that makes everyone 100% happy. But we're listening and we're trying to incorporate as much of the comments from the public that is feasible to get this thing done.
Christelle Kumwe, KGW News.
A downtown Portland dining staple is leaving the neighborhood. Kenny and Zook's Deli has been on Southwest Harvey Milk Street for 15 years. The spot is known for the Reubens and other sandwiches. The restaurant owner posted that they're moving to North Portland due to their lease drawing to a close, a need to downsize, and economics. Their last day downtown will be Sunday, December 18th. Their new location on North Williams Avenue is set to open January 1st.